Armchair Theatre. Not the red one.
Elm Street lies between Woodside School and the park, and that's where you'll find Sim Tolland, Ginger Jones and the Elm Street children, or the Elm Street lot, as Woodside calls them. Now, the Elm Street lot don't go around looking for trouble, of course, but sometimes it finds them, and they certainly found them the day that Mr. Crackenthorpe's bath was delivered. Not all the houses in Elm Street have a bath, though the council like them everywhere. Mr. Crackenthorpe hates the council. He said, "I'll have my bathroom the way I want my bathroom to be. Thank you very much." And so he went out and bought a bath from goodness knows where, a second-hand one as well. It was a half day at Woodside School when the bath was delivered, and all the Elm Street lot were there to see it. It was a particularly large bath because Mrs. Crackenthorpe was particularly large. But Mr. Crackenthorpe said, "I'll have Mrs. Crackenthorpe in that bath and out of that bath, even if I have to buy a hoist." Unfortunately, the Crackenthorpe's door was very narrow, and the bath was certainly very wide, and it just wouldn't go in, despite the Elm Street lot's cheering, the men's trying, and Mr. Crackenthorpe's jumping about and dancing and saying, "I'll have the Lord on the lot of you if these goods aren't delivered." In the end, the lorry driver's mate got fed up and he dumped it in the garden, and there it lay for all to see. The Elm Street lot couldn't resist it. First of all, Johnny and Kitty Bates got into it. That was when, of course, they knew Mr. Crackenthorpe was out shopping. They pretended it was a boat, and they began to row it with all kinds of sticks and things. Then all the other children joined in, and they became a whole crew of galley slaves, rowing across the ocean. Then it began to rain, and they pretended that the boat was leaking, and they had to get the bilge water out with yoghurt cartons. But just then, Mr. Crackenthorpe came back suddenly from the shops, and the Elm Street lot ran for their lives. And then the bath disappeared. It was there in the morning when the Elm Street lot went to school. It was there at midday when they came back for the dinner. But sometime during the dinner hour, it vanished. Of course, Mr. Crackenthorpe said, "The Elm Street lot have stolen it." But every one of them knew that they hadn't. But when they came out of school that afternoon, old Mrs. Crackenthorpe came waddling towards them to ask them, no, to implore them, please return the bath. And she started crying. And it was those tears because Mrs. Crackenthorpe was a nice old lady, really, and everybody felt sorry for her, that decided Sim Tolland. He drew the Elm Street lot around him. He said, "Detect." The only trouble was there was nothing for the detectives to go on. You see, every house in Elm Street had its kitchen at the back of the house, and that's where everybody was sitting having the dinner at the time the bath must have disappeared. The only exception was little Jimmy Clegg, who got out of his chair in Mrs. Clegg's front room and ran to the window. When Sim questioned him and asked him if he'd seen anything, he got all scared and flustered, and all he could say was, "Clip-clop, clip-clop, clip-clop," which was his impression of a horse. There was only one other clue to go on, a roundish, damp patch on the road outside the Crackenthorpe's house. Kitty Bates measured the patch with a tape. It was 18 inches across, and it seemed that there was nothing more that can be done about it. And then Ginger Jones decided to have a sniff. "Oh, it's dung," he said. "Horse dung." The Elm Street lot were baffled. What horse or horses? And who would have removed the droppings so neatly? And why? And then someone said, "Miss Munson." Now, little Miss Munson was a bit balmy about her garden, and she was well known for going out and collecting all kinds of droppings and compost to use as fertiliser. Every time a rag and bone cart went past, Miss Munson would be out there with her little shovel to collect all the droppings. And then everyone realised where their detection had led them, for the rag and bone cart was also the scrap iron cart. Miss Munson admitted that she'd heard horses' hooves, and that she'd seen horse droppings, and the horse and cart, and the Crackenthorpe's bath being driven down the road on it. But she just collected her horse droppings and said nothing. She didn't want to have any trouble. So, Jimmy Clegg was right. He'd seen what Miss Munson seen, and he'd heard what Miss Munson heard. But he's only a little boy. That evening, Sim Tolland got his big brother Bert and the rest of the Elm Street lot and went down to the local scrapyard. Sim climbed on big brother Bert's shoulders and looked over the wall. And sure enough, there, in the middle of the yard, looking as splendid as ever, was the bath. And sitting next to it, on a broken-down old couch, was the rag and bone man. "Oi!" said Sim over the wall. "Who's that? Get away! This is private property!" said the rag and bone man. "What did he say?" asked Bert. "Who's that with you? Who's that with you?" said the rag and bone man. "It's my big brother and all the Elm Street lot." And at that, the Elm Street lot all stamped their feet to show that they were really there. "Nice bath," Sim continued. "Oh, Mr. Crackenthorpe's lost a very valuable bath like that. He's down at the police station this minute." "This isn't a valuable bath," said the rag and bone man. "In fact, it's no good to us at all. It just takes up valuable space. In fact, I was thinking about taking and leaving it exactly back where I found it." "What did he say?" asked Bert. "He said he's returning the bath," said Sim. And at that, the Elm Street lot all stamped their feet in triumph. Nobody ever knew for certain whether the rag and bone man had thought the bath was left out, whether he'd taken it because he thought there was no one looking. All we know is that very late, that very same night, it was left exactly where it was taken from. Mr. Crackenthorpe wasn't very happy about his bath disappearing and appearing like that in his own front garden. And so he was quite civil when Mr. Clegg, Mr. Badana and Bert Tolland appeared, and they said, "Hey, Crackers, we'll take out your front window and we'll put your bath in that way." So that was that. But someone must have told Mr. Crackenthorpe something, because one day, when the coast was clear, she went down to see Sim Tolland and the Elm Street lot, and she gave them a great big bag of jelly babies. And as far as I know, Mr. Crackenthorpe never did buy a hoist to get Mrs. Crackenthorpe out of the bath. Maybe he couldn't get one that was strong enough.
ChuckleVision, ChuckleVision,